Hello everybody. I am sitting on the floor in the back of my game room because almost all the comics I own are in the bottom of this shelf, and I wasn't about to take them all out over to the couch and make a big mess over there. I want to give you an idea of the kind of comics I'm into. Now this is a little warning first off. I'm not a superhero guy. I don't like Spider-Man or the X-Men or Superman or anything like that. I like more weird alternative comics. So if you don't, then you might not enjoy my collection. But when I was a kid, I was never into superheroes at all. So that's probably also why I didn't get into comic books until about 10 years ago. Seems, most superhero fans are comic book fans, so it never, was that connection for me. About 10 years ago is when I started, picking some up and reading. But probably about 8 years ago is when I really started to collect comic books. And one of the first series that I really started to collect for was the Silent Hill comics. Now, they're okay. I mean, they're definitely not the best comics I've ever read. Some of the stories are, wishy-washy. You got different series that they have. Sinner's Reward is one. This one was for Dying Inside. They have Dead Alive. So there's multiple different storylines. Some are a little bit more related in the sense of characters, or I guess more of enemies and creatures from the Silent Hill games. Other ones are basically really far off from the Silent Hill story. Maybe a little bit of imagery is the same. Now, the cool thing about these is the comic book store I originally picked up the first 3 or 4 I bought. I walked in, I was talking to the clerk, and I had seen online Silent Hill comics. And he showed me where they were, and he goes, hey, you came in at a good time because the writer was in here last week, and he signed every copy we had in the store. So I have quite a few, I think a few different of the sets signed by him. And his name's Scott also, so that was kind of cool. But yeah, this was definitely the first comic book series that really got me into collecting. And I think I own them all. There's a few trade paperbacks that they've put out as well, collections of just the comics, and I believe most of those are on a shelf over there. But the next series that really got me going, and probably the one that I like the most, would have to be The Walking Dead. Big surprise, because I've mentioned I'm a big fan of the TV show. I definitely read the comics first, and I gotta say, I like the story in the comics a little bit better. I still love the show, but I really got attached to the fact that the story just kept going and going and going, and it didn't really seem to, he had said, Robert Kirkman had said that he didn't want to have an end to it. He wanted it to be a continuous story, and he always hated how horror movies, they're 2 hours long, you watch it, and you're like, oh, it's over, I wish there was more. Well, with The Walking Dead, there is more. There's always more. I have the first, well, they're up to 8 now of the hardbacks. I have all those, and I have some of the other random stuff they put out, the covers issue, which collects all the covers to, I believe this is, I don't know, up to what, issue 50? 49? Yeah, 50. Hold on. Yeah, up to issue 50. So there'll obviously be at some point a covers to book. They put out some other little things. There's a character's guide that I have, but I do not see it down here, so that means it's on this shelf behind Zelda as well. After The Walking Dead, and me being such a huge zombie fan, I wanted to check out all these other different zombie comic series, or just sort of one-offs and stuff. So I basically picked up everything I saw every time I was at a comic book store or a bookstore. Some really interesting ones that are not really comics. I mean, they're more of a graphic novel. They don't have a series or anything. This one is just called Zombies, A Record of the Year of Infection. And this one is sort of a journal of a guy who's just trying to survive, and he has little sketches that he made. That I actually really enjoyed that one a lot. Then some of the other series that I got into, there was a Triple X Zombies, which, as you can tell by the cover, has half-naked chicks and zombies. I mean, come on, you put those two together, it's got to be a hit, right? A little play off of Jaws on that one. That one was okay. It's not definitely not one of my favorite ones. And then some just random ones like The Zombie, which this is, I guess, more of like a classic zombie comic. We got quite a bit in here. I think I have around like 150 or so comics, so not a huge collection by any means, but fairly decent for a guy that's not really into comics that much. The Zombies series, which I love the cover art for these. They're all very, very similar. And this one's cool, a big fat motherfucker on the front. He's pretty gross. The Zombie Survival Guide Recorded Attacks. Max Brooks put out the Zombie Survival Guide, which was a very popular book. It was like a New York Times bestseller. Then after that, he put out tons of little weird things for it, like little zombie survival notes book, little survival notepads, and this is like a deck of survival cards for it. You can see on the back. So the one of the other books that came out after that, he also did World War Z, which they're doing the movie, about coming out pretty soon. This one is, more in comic book form. The other books he put out were just straight up stories. But that was really good. I really liked, I guess in the sense of stories, Walking Dead, and then World War Z, and the stuff that Max Brooks has done. It's probably my favorite zombie stuff. Let's see. We have Dead World. I won't show you these all just because there's a lot. I have a lot of fucking zombie comics. Remains. The 28 Days Later, The Aftermath. And then, okay, so we'll move on from zombies. After the zombie thing basically was played out in the sense of mini series, I was sort of getting a little, worn out by it. So I was like, well, let me pick up a whole different type, a different type of comic that was based off of, something I was already into. I really liked the Hellboy movies. And this is very rare for me. I'm normally the guy that likes the original of something and then, we'll watch the other stuff, like if it comes out with a movie. Well, I watched the Hellboy movies first and then got into the comics second. So some people are going to be like, wow, you fucking loser. But hey, I can't do everything in the correct order. I have to do some things backwards. But I really like the hardbound books that they put out. This is volume 1. They have like a sort of felt cover to them. And they look really nice. They're really heavy and sturdy. And the first one I bought, the reason why I bought it was I was at the comic book shop and the price on it I thought was wrong. I think the price said like $15 or like $12.99 or something really crazy. And I took it up to the counter. I was like, "Is this right? What's going on?" And the guy's like, "Oh, that's a used one. A dude bought it." And he had it for a couple months, said he didn't really like it or whatever, so he brought it back, and they do trade-ins at the comic book store I go to. It's called Emerald City. It's really the closest big comic book store to me, and they do trade-ins there, so this was pretty much brand new. I don't even know if you ever read it, but it got me started on the Hellboy Comics, and it was like I said, like $12.99, $15, somewhere around there, and there are 4 volumes of the hardbound ones. So far. Now, I believe actually, probably before I got into Hellboy, I had a friend of mine give me a comic, and I told him, like, dude, look, I'm really not into comics very much. I'm really picky. He knew I liked The Walking Dead, but he's like, dude, you should check this out. It has zombies in it. It's funny and comical, but I think you'll dig it. And I was like, oh yeah, sure. I mean, if you're just going to hand it to me, he's basically said, keep it, have it for free. I've read it. And at that time, he was doing like digital downloads of comics, and he wasn't really buying, physical copies anymore. So he gave me the Goon. And this was issue 0. And I got so hooked on the Goon series now. This was about 5 years ago or so. And I bought every Goon that has come out since then. I have the little limited edition statue. I did meet Eric Powell at a convention in Atlanta at Dragon Con and got him to sign the statue, and I think I got him to sign something else. I don't remember what it was, but they did a hardbound for Chinatown. Just awesome. If you like comedy in a comic, but you want sort of They're very over-the-top, gross, really gross sense of humor. They're in fact, let me see if I can find it. Here's some weird ones. More Goon-related stuff. This is Death Clock versus the Goon. Death Clock being the animated cartoon that was on Adult Swim. And so yeah, they had a crossover there. And this is the one I was looking for. This is called Satan's Sodomy Baby. And it has this huge fucking warning on it because this is a pretty vulgar comic. And this was one that it wasn't like just, you could come by fairly easily. I don't think it's really gone up in value very much. But I remember I had to buy it offline. My comic book store did not have a copy of it. So, big fan of the Goon. The only other comic series that I was in, and technically I saved this sort of for last because this was the first comic book, I believe, that I ever picked up, read, and then kind of wanted to, continue. After I read the first issue, though, I don't think I read the second one for quite a few years because the first issue I got, this is the comic Johnny the Homicidal Maniac. This is actually number 7. This is the first one, sorry. But the first issue that I read of this was in the normal comic form, and then it wasn't until I got this, which is Johnny the Homicidal Maniac, the director's cut, which was a compilation. It added all the comics to it. It wasn't until I got this that I sat down, read them all, and was like, you know what? I'm going to give comics a try, a second try, because this was the creator, Jonan Vasquez, also did Invader Zim. Now, Invader Zim, to me, was always sort of like the Johnny the Homicidal Maniac for kids. It was weird. It was definitely, I can see how some parents wouldn't want their kids maybe watching it. I mean, it was on Nickelodeon, which made it even weirder, but the Johnny the Homicidal Maniac is full of cursing, full of blood and people dying and just, really crazy imagery. You can see that chick has knives all in her mouth. And I didn't know comics could be like that. I always, when I heard comics, I was just like, comics, Superman, Batman. And I got into, I think, comics with Johnny the Homicidal Maniac. But like I said, there was a gap in time of my interest. And then after that, it wasn't until I started picking up, The Walking Dead or Silent Hill that I really started collecting them. So then I went back and bought, all of the single issues of the Johnny comics. And then Jonan Vasquez has put out a bunch of other little weird things, like Filler Bunny little comics. And then we have Everything Can Be Beaten, the Bad Art Collection. This one's gross. Jelly Fist. And new and improved Squee. Squee was also a character inside the Johnny comics. And the only other, I guess, comics that I have that's sort of a series would be for BPRD, which comes from the Hellboy universe. And those are on a shelf over here. I think I have the first 3 hardbounds of that, but I haven't read them all yet. But yeah, if you have any recommendations for me, obviously I've mentioned now a few times, I'm very picky when it comes to comics, but I would love to hear recommendations because I'm not really well informed on multiple comic series. I sort of got into the ones I got into and stayed on that path and just got stuck with them. So let me know, and I guess that is it, guys. So I'll talk to you later. Peace.